Noah Lancaster, a once ambitious billionaire, had isolated himself in his mansion, drowning in work and silence after the tragic loss of his wife. But when he impulsively hires Evelyn, a homeless woman seeking work, the dynamics of their lives begin to change. As Noah witnesses the joy and healing that flourish in the garden and in Lily's heart, will he be able to confront his own pain and embrace the love he desperately needs? Stay tuned to discover how a simple act of kindness can lead to profound transformation. Noah Lancaster stepped through the grand double doors of his mansion, immediately enveloped by a heavy silence that had become his constant companion over the past year. He tossed his Bentley keys onto the marble table, the sound echoing in the empty foyer, a stark reminder that no one would rush to greet him as they once did. At just 32, Noah had joined the ranks of the youngest billionaires in the nation, with a tech company valued in the billions, 3 sprawling mansions, 5 luxury cars, and a watch collection that rivaled the price of some Manhattan apartments. Yet amid all his success, the only thing that truly mattered to him was the relentless ticking of the clock, counting the days since they found Claire's overturned car on the highway, a year of grief since the funeral, where he had not shed a single public tear. "Mr. Lancaster, we weren't expecting you so soon." Margaret, the housekeeper, appeared with her usual discreet demeanor. "Would you like me to serve dinner?" "No, I'm going to work in the office." "I don't want to be disturbed," he replied curtly. Margaret nodded, accustomed to his solitary ways. As he climbed the stairs, he avoided glancing at the family portraits lining the walls, his heart sinking as he passed Lily's room. The door was ajar, and he caught a glimpse of his 4-year-old daughter sitting on the floor, aimlessly moving puzzle pieces around. Lily had always been a bright child, but since the loss of her mother, her spirit had dimmed. The therapist had explained that her silence was a response to trauma, but Noah understood it went deeper than that. It was also a reaction to him, her father, who had become a stranger in his own home. In the comfort of his office, he opened his laptop, immersing himself in spreadsheets and emails. Work was his refuge, a place where he could mask his pain and control the chaos that reality had thrust upon him. Hours slipped by until the early morning hours found Noah pouring himself a whiskey and gazing out the window at the garden Claire had cherished. The once vibrant space lay in neglect, the flowers dried and grass yellowed, a painful reflection of his loss. Rain began to fall outside, and within the mansion, the silence continued. A haunting reminder of laughter, music, and Claire's sweet voice that had once filled the halls. Now it was merely a mausoleum for the living. Noah closed the curtains, resigned to the fact that tomorrow would be another day in the life of the man he had become, a cold, calculating figure who believed that burying his feelings would shield him from pain. Little did he know that he was wrong, a reality that would soon be confronted. The next morning dawned gray and damp after a night of rain. Noah departed earlier than usual, 3 meticulously organized suitcases in the trunk of the Bentley. Frankie, his discreet driver, awaited outside. "To the airport, sir?" Frankie asked, opening the rear door. "Not yet. I need to handle a few details at the company first." Noah glanced at his watch. His private jet was scheduled to depart in 4 hours. As he prepared to leave, his eyes caught sight of a figure standing by the mansion gates. "Who is that?" he asked, frowning. Frank surveyed the scene. "I don't know, sir. She's been there since I arrived about 20 minutes ago. Shall I ask security to remove her?" Noah narrowed his eyes. The woman appeared to be in her late 20s, dressed in worn, simple clothes. While she didn't seem threatening, she certainly didn't look like someone who belonged in this exclusive neighborhood. "I'll talk to her myself," he decided, stepping out of the car. As he approached, he noticed details he hadn't seen from afar. The woman had brown hair tied back in a simple bun, and despite her shabby appearance, there was a certain dignity in her posture. She didn't cower as he approached, as many would have. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone polite but cold, the way he used to dismiss unwanted visitors. "Good morning, Mr. Lancaster," she replied, her voice clear. "My name is Evelyn Turner. I'm looking for work and heard your garden is in need of care." Noah raised an eyebrow, surprised by her directness. "Who told you that?" "No one had to. I passed by yesterday and saw the state of the garden. It's a shame to let such a beautiful space go to waste." Her frankness took him aback. There was something almost defiant in her tone, despite her polite words. "I'm a gardener," she continued. "I have experience with landscaping and historic garden restoration. I can provide references if you like." Noah regarded her with skepticism, his first instinct being to dismiss her. He didn't hire people who simply showed up at his door, no matter how qualified they claimed to be. "We're not hiring," he replied, turning away. "Your garden disagrees," she said, her voice firm enough to make him stop and turn back. "What did you say?" "The garden needs urgent care. It was designed with species that require regular maintenance. The shrubs are choking the roses, and the irrigation system is likely compromised after months of neglect. One more winter like this, and much of what's planted will be lost." Noah glanced over his shoulder at the garden, unable to remember the last time he truly paid attention to it. Claire had been the one who cared for it. After her passing, he had instructed the cleaning staff to only provide the basics. "Why should I hire you?" he asked, still wary. "Because I'm willing to start right away. Because I know plants and what needs to be done." She paused, looking at the mansion. "This garden deserves to come back to life." Something in her words struck a chord within Noah. He didn't show it, of course. Years of running businesses had taught him to hide his reactions. For a fleeting moment, he felt exposed, as if this stranger had spoken not only about the garden, but about his own life. Silence followed, broken only by the distant sounds of traffic and the wind rustling through the trees. Noah weighed his options, preparing to leave for a 2-week trip with no time or interest to deal with this now. Yet, for a reason he couldn't understand, he found himself saying, 2 weeks. I'm traveling on business and will be gone for 2 weeks. If you like, you can work in the garden during that time. Speak with the housekeeper. She'll give you access to the tools you need." Evelyn's face lit up with a small smile, the first since they'd begun talking. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Lancaster." "Don't thank me yet. When I get back, I'll decide if the job continues." He gave a curt nod and returned to the car, where Frankie awaited, clearly curious about the conversation. Noah offered no explanation as he settled into the seat and opened his laptop. Evelyn remained where she was, watching the car drive away. To any observer, Noah's decision might have seemed like an act of kindness, but for him, it was just another box to check off his list before traveling. He had no idea how that impulsive decision would change his life. Margaret, the housekeeper, couldn't hide her surprise when Noah called to inform her about the temporary hire. "A gardener?" she asked, looking through the kitchen window at the woman waiting at the back entrance. "Are you sure, Mr. Lancaster?" "It's just for 2 weeks," Noah replied. "She'll only work in the garden, not in the house, and make sure she stays away from Lily." "Yes, sir." Margaret hung up, a worried expression crossing her face. In the 15 years she'd worked for the Lancaster family, she had never seen the master hire anyone so impulsively, especially after everything that had happened. Evelyn waited patiently as Margaret opened the door. "Mr. Lancaster informed me of the temporary arrangement," the housekeeper said, her distrust barely hidden. "You can use the storage shed out back for your materials. The gardening tools are in the greenhouse." "Thank you," Evelyn replied, determination glimmering in her green eyes. "I promise not to cause any trouble." Margaret gave a stiff nod and led Evelyn down the side path to the back of the property. The young woman looked around with alert eyes, not as someone admiring luxury, but as someone assessing the work to be done. When they reached the greenhouse, Margaret was surprised by Evelyn's reaction. She didn't seem intimidated by the size of the garden or its neglected state. On the contrary, there was a certain resolve in her gaze, as if she were facing a welcome challenge. "Mrs. Clare loved this garden," Margaret commented, watching as Evelyn examined a rose bush nearly strangled by wild vines. "I can see that," Evelyn replied gently, pushing aside the invasive branches. "It was planted with care. Each section has its own personality." Margaret felt a lump in her throat. It was the first time in a year that anyone had spoken of Claire's garden that way. "Well, I'll leave you to your work. Lunch is served at noon for the staff in the back kitchen." Evelyn thanked her, and as soon as Margaret left, she took off her light coat, rolled up her sleeves, and began sorting the tools she'd need. She didn't have much time, and there was a lot to do. Meanwhile, on the mansion's second floor, A curious pair of eyes watched the scene unfold. Lily Lancaster, dressed in a pale blue dress with her blonde hair in 2 braids, sat on the window seat, hugging a worn teddy bear. She watched with intrigue as the unknown woman moved through the garden with purpose, cutting dead branches and gathering dry leaves. It was the first new person she'd seen in a long time. More than that, it was the first person to touch her mother's garden since her mother had gone away. Sarah, Lily's nanny, found the girl still by the window nearly an hour later. "Lily, sweetheart, it's time for your piano lesson." The girl didn't answer, her eyes still fixed on the figure below. Sarah followed her gaze and saw the new gardener. "Who is she?" Sarah asked more to herself than to the child. Lily remained silent, but Sarah noticed a glimmer in her eyes that she hadn't seen for a long time. Curiosity, she thought. "Come on, sweetheart. Miss Winters is already waiting." Reluctantly, Lily climbed down from the window seat and followed Sarah to the music room, but her mind stayed in the garden with the stranger who dug in the soil and spoke to the plants. The next morning dawned clear at the private airport runway. Noah Lancaster boarded his private jet to Shanghai, armed with a folder full of contracts to review during the flight. He didn't think once about the woman he'd hired to tend the garden for him. It was just a minor detail in his meticulously organized life, a small detour soon to be forgotten. As the jet took off, cutting through the clouds toward the east, Noah loosened his tie slightly and opened his laptop, preparing for the corporate battles ahead, far removed from the oppressive silence of the mansion and the memories it held, and, more importantly, far from Lily's accusing eyes, which reminded him so much of Claire. Back at the mansion, Evelyn began her second day of work at sunrise. She wore simple yet appropriate clothes, sturdy canvas pants, warm but comfortable boots, and a long-sleeved shirt to protect her arms from the sun and thorns. Margaret observed from the kitchen window as she prepared breakfast. There was something intriguing about this woman. She worked with a dedication Margaret rarely saw in temporary staff. Each movement was calculated, and every decision about what to prune or preserve seemed to stem from deep knowledge. "She really knows what she's doing," Betty, the cook, commented, joining Margaret at the window. "It looks like it," Margaret agreed, still uneasy. "I'll keep an eye on her. Mr. Lancaster is very clear that she stays away from Lily." Noah had always been protective of his daughter, but since Claire's death, that protectiveness had morphed into an obsession. Visits were rare, and interactions with strangers even rarer. The outside world seemed like a constant threat to him. In the garden, Evelyn worked methodically and patiently. She had begun with the flower beds closest to the house, where once magnificent rose bushes struggled to survive under invasive vines. With gentle but firm hands, she freed each plant, pruning what was needed and removing what was beyond saving. Occasionally, she paused to drink water from a bottle she had brought, glancing up at the mansion. It was an imposing building, 3 stories high with a Georgian facade, but there was something sad about it, as if the house itself were in mourning. During one of these breaks, Evelyn noticed for the first time a small face in the second-floor window, a blonde girl watching her intently. Evelyn smiled and waved discreetly. The face vanished immediately, like a frightened animal retreating to its burrow. Lily. Evelyn knew the name of Noah Lancaster's daughter just as she knew of the tragedy that had struck the family a year earlier. Claire Lancaster's accident had made the news, even in the circles Evelyn frequented. Returning to her work, Evelyn reflected on the irony of the situation. Here she was, a woman who had lost everything, working for a man who, despite having all the money in the world, also seemed to have lost what mattered most. The hours passed quickly as she worked. The sun was high when Sarah came out to the garden, Lily by her side. "Good morning," Sarah called, keeping a safe distance. "You must be the new gardener." Evelyn stood up, removing her gloves to greet the nanny. "Evelyn Turner," she introduced herself with a smile. "I'm just tidying up the garden while Mr. Lancaster is away." Sarah nodded, studying Evelyn with cautious eyes. "I'm Sarah, Lily's nanny," she said, placing her hand on the little girl's shoulder. "We were just going for a walk, right, Lily?" The girl didn't respond, her gaze fixed on the tools scattered on the grass. "It's nice to meet you," Evelyn said, bending slightly to be at Lily's eye level. "You must be Miss Lily. Your garden is very beautiful." Lily lifted her eyes to Evelyn, surprised at being addressed directly. "It's not my garden," she said softly, almost a whisper. "It was my mom's." Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. Lily rarely spoke to strangers and almost never mentioned her mother. Evelyn nodded seriously. "So it was your mother who liked the yellow roses. They're my favorites, too." A flicker of interest flashed in Lily's eyes, but she said nothing more. Recovering from her surprise, Sarah gave a tense smile. "Well, we won't get in your way. Come on, Lily." They continued along the stone path that circled the property. Evelyn went back to work, but every so often, she felt Lily watching her from a distance. By the end of the day, as the sun began to set, Evelyn gathered her tools and looked with satisfaction at the work she had done. It was just a start, but she could already see the potential. The roses were freed, the path was clear, and the fountains were clean. With the right timing and consistent care, that garden would once again become what it had been. As she walked toward the back exit, Evelyn passed an area she hadn't explored yet, a small greenhouse almost hidden among tall shrubs. The glass structure was dirty, and some panels were broken, but something inside caught her attention. Approaching carefully, she peered through the dusty glass. Inside, wilted but still alive, were dozens of orchids in various stages of neglect. Some had new buds fighting to survive, while others drooped sadly in their pots. The fifth day dawned with clear skies and a welcoming sun. Evelyn arrived early as usual, carrying a small extra bag along with her tools. Inside were seeds of various flowers, zinnias, daisies, and dwarf sunflowers, perfect for little hands to plant. She didn't expect to see Lily so early, but there the girl was, sitting on the back step, wearing a straw hat too big for her head, and a look of eagerness Evelyn had never seen before. "Good morning, Lily," Evelyn greeted, trying to hide her surprise. "You're up bright and early." Lily swung her legs, which didn't reach the ground, her little shoes dangling in the air as she held the hat's brim to keep it from falling over her eyes. "Sarah said I could help you if you let me," the girl explained, her voice steadier than in previous days. "I promise not to get in the way." Evelyn smiled, feeling a wave of fondness. Over the past few days, Lily had gradually come closer, first just watching from afar, then asking occasional questions, and yesterday, finally touching a rose petal when Evelyn invited her to. Each little step felt like a victory. "Of course you can help me. Actually, I have a special mission today that requires small, careful fingers." Lily's eyes shone with curiosity. "What mission?" Evelyn opened the bag and showed her the colorful seed packets. "We're going to create your own flower bed with fast-growing blooms. You'll be able to see them sprout in just a few days." The girl got off the step, hesitant but clearly intrigued. "Can I pick the colors?" "All of them. And we'll put a little sign with your name on it so everyone knows it's yours." Lily's face lit up with a shy smile, revealing a small gap where a baby tooth had recently fallen out. "I've never planted anything before." "Then today is your big day." 20 minutes later, Sarah came out to the garden looking for Lily, finding a scene she never expected to see. The child was crouched in the dirt, her hands dirty, laughing as Evelyn explained how each seed needed its own space so it wouldn't feel cramped when it grew. "Lily!" Sarah exclaimed, half surprised, half relieved to find her outside without telling her. Lily looked up, but kept her focus on the tiny holes she was digging. "Sorry," she said, not taking her eyes off her work. "I had to come early to help with the baby flowers." Sarah watched the scene, torn between protective instinct and the joy of seeing Lily so animated. Since Claire's death, the girl had closed up like a small snail, speaking as little as possible and rarely smiling, spending hours just staring out the window. Now her cheeks were flushed, her dress muddy, but she looked alive. "It's my fault," Evelyn intervened, standing up and wiping her hands on her gardening pants. "I should have asked for your permission before we started." "No, it's fine," Sarah shook her head, stepping closer. "It's just that." She hesitated, glancing at Lily, who was now carefully covering a seed with soil. "I haven't seen her like this in a long time." The two women exchanged a look of understanding, They didn't need to say out loud what they both knew. This child had spent the last year in a state of sadness no 4-year-old should ever experience. "Can we finish planting before breakfast?" Sarah asked, surprising even herself with the suggestion. "We have a reading lesson after that, but maybe we can come back this afternoon." Lily's smile was answer enough. The next morning, Lily appeared with a drawing pad and colored pencils under her arm. Sarah followed, carrying a small folding table. "I want to draw the garden," the girl announced, more confidently than the day before, "to show Daddy when he comes back." Evelyn, who was pruning a shrub near the central fountain, smiled as they approached. Lily's hair was in 2 uneven braids, likely done by her own hands, and her yellow dress perfectly matched the daisies that were starting to bloom near the porch. "Great idea. How about sitting near that bench? From there, you can see the flower beds and the fountain." Lily nodded and ran to the spot, her dress fluttering in the breeze. Sarah followed with a small table, a folding chair, and a bottle of water. "She asked to come out as soon as she woke up," Sarah said, watching Lily settle in with determination. "And she asked for that sketch pad." Evelyn looked at the worn green notebook Lily now opened so reverently. The pages were yellowed at the edges, some already filled with drawings of flowers and landscapes drawn by a talented adult hand. "Claire liked to draw," Sarah nodded, lowering her voice so Lily wouldn't hear. "She was an artist. She painted and sketched the garden a lot. Lily used to sit beside her and try to copy." After Claire was gone, no one had touched that sketch pad until today. Evelyn felt the weight of that information. This wasn't just a notebook, but a link to a mother who was no longer there, a connection Lily was finally ready to revisit. The morning passed peacefully. From time to time, Lily would call Evelyn over to show her progress. Simple, colorful lines representing flowers, butterflies, and the sky. "This is you," Lily said, pointing to a figure with dark hair among the flowers. Evelyn felt a lump in her throat as she saw the childish drawing, a woman with a big green smile. Lily had used the blue pencil until it ran out, and thin arms surrounded by bright dots represented flowers. "It's beautiful," Evelyn exclaimed. "Can I show it to Margaret and Betty in the kitchen later?" The girl nodded, proud, and kept drawing, her tongue peeking out of the corner of her mouth in concentration. That afternoon, when they returned to the garden, Lily brought out a small watering can, her size, which Sarah had found in the basement. "I want to water my seeds," she announced seriously. "Are they thirsty?" Evelyn showed her how to check the soil moisture before watering, guiding the child's small hand. "Plants let us know when they need water," she explained, helping Lily gently touch the earth to feel its dampness. "That means it's good for now," Lily concluded. "What if it gets dry? Then we give them water, but not too much, or they'll drown like people," Evelyn answered, her tone gentle. The innocent question carried a weight that made Sarah and Evelyn exchange quick looks. There were so many layers of meaning there, so many connections to the tragedy that had changed this family's life. "Yes," Evelyn replied kindly. "Everything that lives needs balance." Lily considered this answer seriously, then nodded as though she'd grasped a great truth. "I'm going to take care of them every day," she promised, pressing the little watering can to her chest. "Can I give them names?" "Of course. What names would you like?" Lily thought for a moment. "I'll call the yellow one Sun, the red one Strawberry, and the purple one." She paused, searching for the word. "Dream. Those are perfect names," Evelyn agreed, sharing a smile with Sarah. On the 6th day, it rained, a gentle, steady rain that Evelyn assured was the best gift for the newly planted seeds. Lily was disappointed she couldn't go into the garden, but Evelyn suggested she draw pictures of what she imagined the seeds were doing underground. The girls spent the whole afternoon in the playroom, creating images of smiling seeds waking from a long sleep, stretching tiny green arms toward the surface. "Seeds don't really have arms," she explained to Margaret when the housekeeper brought her afternoon tea. "But I'm pretending they do, so my drawing is more fun." Margaret, who had worked for the Lancasters since before Lily was born, froze for a moment, the tray trembling slightly in her hands. It was the longest sentence she had heard from the girl in months. That's a lovely picture, dear, she managed to say, placing the tray on the small table. Your father will love seeing it when he comes back. The mention of Noah caused a subtle change in Lily's expression. She lowered her eyes to her drawing, biting her lip. Do you really think he'll like it? She asked quietly. Daddy doesn't like the garden anymore, she added, her voice barely above a whisper. Margaret sat beside her, choosing her words carefully. Your father has been very busy and sad, sweetheart, but I'm sure he'll be happy to see you enjoying yourself. Lily didn't look entirely convinced, but she went back to her drawing, her face more pensive now. On the 7th day, the first surprise arrived. Lily came running into the garden in her pajamas and bunny slippers, with Sarah hurrying behind her, carrying a jacket. Evelyn! Evelyn! The little girl called, her voice bursting with excitement. Come see! Evelyn, who had just arrived and was sorting her tools in the shed, dropped everything and followed Lily. What did you find? Noah asked, approaching. Lily looked up, beaming. A family of ladybugs. Evelyn says they're good for the garden because they eat the bad bugs. Noah knelt beside them, watching the tiny red dots moving across a broad leaf. They look busy, he remarked. Every creature has its purpose, Evelyn said, smiling at Lily. Even the small ones like us? Lily asked, glancing from Evelyn to Noah. Exactly, Noah agreed, placing a hand on his daughter's shoulder. In that simple moment, with the morning sun bathing the garden in golden light, Noah felt a certainty he hadn't felt in a long time. The future, once so bleak and limited, now stretched out before him, full of possibilities. He looked at Lily, absorbed in her discovery, at Evelyn, patient and attentive, and at the garden around them, teeming with life. Everything had changed in the last year. He had changed. For the first time, he felt that the change was for the better. As the days passed in the Lancaster household, the emotional layers began to deepen, revealing the complexities of Noah's character and his relationship with Lily. Noah's struggle with his grief was palpable, and there were moments when he found himself watching Lily from a distance, feeling the weight of his failure as a father. The more time he spent observing her interactions with Evelyn, the more he realized how much he had withdrawn from her life. One afternoon as he sat at his office desk, he couldn't shake the feeling of guilt that gnawed at him. He recalled the times Lily had looked up at him with those big blue eyes, searching for connection, and he felt a pang of regret. This was a child who had lost her mother and needed him to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. Evelyn had managed to coax laughter out of Lily, a sound that had been absent for far too long. Noah couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy toward the bond they seemed to share. He wanted to be that source of joy for his daughter, yet he struggled to overcome the wall he had built around himself. Why is it so easy for her? He wondered, frustration bubbling inside him. He recognized that he had been so focused on shielding Lily from pain that he had neglected her needs. As he wrestled with these feelings, he knew he had to confront his own shortcomings. Meanwhile, Evelyn was becoming an integral part of their lives, and her presence brought a warmth that had been missing since Claire's passing. The way she interacted with Lily, encouraging her curiosity, answering her questions, and allowing her to express her emotions, was a stark contrast to Noah's protective instincts. He began to see the value in her approach, realizing that sometimes it was more important to let Lily feel and experience life than to try to control every aspect of it. One evening, as Noah watched from his office window, he saw Evelyn kneeling beside Lily in the garden, teaching her how to identify different plants. The joy on Lily's face was unmistakable, and for the first time in months, Noah felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps he could learn from Evelyn, not just about gardening, but about being a father. During their evening conversations, he started to open up a little more, sharing memories of Claire with Lily. He found himself reminiscing about the times they had spent together as a family, days filled with laughter, art, and the simple pleasures of life. It was as if each memory was a thread, slowly weaving a tapestry of healing for both him and Lily. Yet it was still a struggle. There were days when the weight of his grief felt too heavy to bear, and he found himself retreating back into the confines of his work. But each time he saw Lily's face light up at the sight of a new flower or the arrival of a butterfly, He felt a renewed sense of purpose. Noah began to understand that being a father didn't mean he had to have all the answers or be perfect. It meant showing up, being present, and allowing himself to be vulnerable. He realized that by letting go of his need for control, he could create space for healing, for both himself and Lily. As the garden flourished under Evelyn's care, so too did Noah and Lily's relationship. The laughter that filled the air was a testament to the progress they were making together. Noah started to spend more time outside, participating in the gardening activities, and even helping Lily plant her flower bed. Each small act of involvement was a step toward rebuilding the connection he had lost. In essence, as Noah navigated through the complexities of his grief, he began to recognize that healing was a journey, not a destination. It was through the simple act of nurturing the garden alongside Lily that he started to rediscover the joy of being a father. And in doing so, he learned to embrace the beauty of life's imperfections, realizing that it was okay to feel pain while also finding moments of happiness. Ultimately, Noah understood that the key to moving forward lay not in forgetting the past, but in honoring it and allowing it to shape a brighter future for himself and Lily. As they worked together in the garden, planting seeds and watching them grow, he felt a sense of hope blossoming within him. A hope that mirrored the vibrant flowers emerging from the soil, a promise of new beginnings. As the days turned into weeks, the transformation of the Lancaster household became evident. The garden, once a neglected remnant of Claire's love, now thrived under Evelyn's dedicated care. Colors bloomed vibrantly, and the air was filled with the sweet fragrance of flowers, a stark contrast to the somber atmosphere that had lingered since Claire's passing. With every passing day, Noah found himself drawn to the garden, where laughter and life were returning, not just for Lily, but for him as well. One sunny afternoon, while he was working in his office, Noah glanced out the window and saw Lily and Evelyn sitting on the grass, engrossed in a conversation. The sight warmed his heart. Lily was animated, her hands gesturing as she expressed her thoughts about the plants. Noah felt a pang of regret for all the moments he had missed, but he also felt a stirring of hope. The connection between them was blossoming, and it was clear that Evelyn played a significant role in bringing Lily back to life. Determined to be part of this transformation, Noah made a conscious effort to spend more time with his daughter. He joined them in the garden, often asking questions about the flowers and the various insects that buzzed around them. Each time he did, he noticed how Lily's face would light up, and for the first time, he felt a sense of joy in being a father. He began to see the beauty in the simple moments, watching a butterfly land on a flower or listening to Lily's excited chatter about her favorite plants. One day, as they worked together to plant new seeds, Noah took a deep breath and decided to open up to Lily. "You know, I've been thinking about your mom a lot," he said, his voice gentle. "She loved this garden just as much as you do. I think she would be so happy to see you taking care of it." Lily paused, her small hand stilling in the soil. "Do you think she can see us?" she asked, her voice soft and curious. "I believe she can," Noah replied, feeling a lump in his throat. "And I think she would be proud of you." In that moment, a connection sparked between them, one built on shared memories and the understanding of their love for Claire. It was a cathartic experience for Noah, allowing him to process his grief while simultaneously nurturing their bond. As the weeks continued to unfold, Noah found himself increasingly engaged in the garden. He learned from Evelyn, who never hesitated to share her knowledge about plants and their care. Her passion was infectious, and Noah began to feel a sense of camaraderie with her. Together, they sculpted the landscape into something beautiful, not just for Lily, but as a tribute to Claire's memory. One afternoon, as they were cleaning up a section of the garden, Noah turned to Evelyn. "Thank you for everything you've done," he said earnestly. "You've brought life back to this place and to my daughter." Evelyn smiled, her green eyes shining with warmth. "It's a team effort," she replied. "Lily has a special spark. She reminds me of the importance of nurturing not just plants, but relationships too." Noah nodded, feeling the truth in her words. He realized that through gardening, they were cultivating more than just flowers. They were cultivating healing, connection, and understanding. As summer approached, the garden became a sanctuary for the entire Lancaster family. The vibrant colors and fragrant blooms mirrored the growing joy within their hearts. Noah's laughter mingled with Lily's as they played and worked alongside Evelyn, who had now become an integral part of their lives. The outdoor space transformed into a haven where emotions could flow freely. It was a place where Lily could express her feelings and where Noah could confront his own. They shared stories, laughter, and moments of reflection amid the blossoming flowers. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the garden, Noah felt a profound sense of peace settle over him. He watched Lily and Evelyn, both crouched over a flower bed, and he realized that the bond they shared was a testament to the healing power of love and nature. In that moment, Noah understood that the journey of healing was ongoing. It would take time, but with each day spent in the garden, he felt more connected to both Lily and Evelyn. He began to accept that it was okay to lean on others, to share his burdens, and to allow himself to feel joy amid the pain. As he stood there, surrounded by the beauty of the garden and the laughter of his daughter, Noah felt a hope blossoming within him. A hope that mirrored the vibrant flowers around them. He was learning that life, much like a garden, was a journey of growth, resilience, and renewal. And as he embraced this journey, he knew he was finally on the right path, one that led to healing and a brighter future for them all. As spring gave way to summer, the Lancaster household flourished alongside the garden. The transformation was not just visible in the vibrant blooms and lush greenery, but also in the dynamics of the family. Noah had begun to embrace his role as a father with newfound vigor, allowing himself to be vulnerable and present in Lily's life. The laughter that echoed through the hallways was a stark contrast to the silence that had once enveloped them, a testament to the healing process they were all experiencing. One sunny Saturday morning, Noah woke up with a sense of purpose. Today, he had planned something special, not just for Lily, but for Evelyn as well. He had realized that their bond extended beyond mere employer and employee. They were partners in nurturing Lily's growth, both in the garden and in her emotional recovery. After breakfast, Noah gathered Lily and Evelyn in the garden. "I have a surprise for both of you," he announced, excitement bubbling in his chest. "What is it?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with anticipation. "You'll see," Noah teased, leading them to the back porch where he had set up a surprise art station. The table was covered with sketch pads, colored pencils, and watercolor paints, all the supplies they would need for a creative day together. "Wow, this is amazing," Lily exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. Evelyn looked pleasantly surprised. "You thought of this?" "I did," Noah replied, feeling a warmth in his chest. "I thought it would be fun for us to have an art lesson together. I know you used to be an art teacher, Evelyn, and I'd love for you to teach us." Evelyn smiled, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I'd be delighted. Let's start with something simple. How about we draw a flower from the garden?" As they settled down at the table, Noah felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. It had been years since he had allowed himself to engage in something purely for fun. He picked up a pencil, hesitating over the blank page. "Just draw a circle first," Lily encouraged, her small hand reaching over to guide his. With their collaborative spirit, they began to create. While Evelyn sketched effortlessly, Noah found himself struggling with his lines. He glanced at Lily's drawing, which was charmingly disproportionate but full of personality. "Yours is so much prettier than mine," he said to Lily, comparing their artwork. "You tried, Daddy," she replied, beaming. "Next time you'll do better." Noah felt a lump in his throat at her encouraging words. It struck him how much he missed these simple moments of connection and shared laughter. With each stroke of the pencil, he felt the barriers he had built around himself begin to crumble. As the afternoon sun bathed the garden in warmth, they took breaks to enjoy snacks and share stories. Noah listened intently as Evelyn and Lily exchanged thoughts about their drawings, their laughter ringing like music in the air. He realized how much he had missed out on by isolating himself in his grief. Later, As they cleaned up, Noah turned to Evelyn. "Thank you for today. I really enjoyed this," he said sincerely. Evelyn smiled. "It's been a joy to see you both creating together. Lily has a natural talent, and I think you do too, in your own way." Noah felt a glow of warmth at her compliment. It wasn't just about the art. It was about the connections they were forging, connections that were grounding him and helping him rediscover joy. In the weeks that followed, Noah continued to prioritize time spent in the garden and with Lily. He found himself participating in her lessons, engaging in conversations about everything from flowers to the stars above. Each moment spent together was a step forward in healing, not just for Lily, but for him as well. One evening, while they were watering the plants, Lily looked up at Noah with her innocent blue eyes. "Daddy, will you always be here with me and Evelyn?" The question struck Noah, and he knelt down to her level, taking her small hands in his. "I promise, sweetie. I'll always be here for you. We're a family now, and we'll take care of each other." In that moment, he realized that the garden had become a symbol of their journey, a place where they could grow, heal, and support one another. As summer turned to fall, the garden continued to flourish, reflecting the changes within the Lancaster family. Noah knew that they still had a long journey ahead, but he felt equipped to face it. He had learned that vulnerability was not a weakness, but a strength, and by opening his heart, he could create a nurturing environment for Lily and Evelyn. The bond they shared was blossoming, rooted in love and understanding. Noah looked around at the colorful flowers and the laughter that filled the air, feeling a sense of gratitude for the unexpected journey they had embarked on together. In the garden, surrounded by the beauty of life, Noah found hope, a hope that illuminated the path forward, reminding him that even in the face of loss, new beginnings could emerge. The future was no longer a source of fear, but a canvas waiting to be painted with the colors of love, family, and joy. As autumn approached, the Lancaster household had transformed into a place filled with warmth and laughter, a stark contrast to the silence that had once dominated their lives. The garden, flourishing with vibrant colors and carefully tended plants, had become the heart of their home, a sanctuary where Noah, Lily, and Evelyn could find comfort and connection. One crisp morning, Noah awoke early, eager to embrace the day. He had decided it was time to take a step further in nurturing the bonds they had formed. After a quick breakfast, he gathered Lily and Evelyn in the garden. "I have a surprise for both of you," he announced, excitement bubbling beneath his calm exterior. "What is it?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "You'll see," Noah replied with a playful smile, leading them to a section of the garden that had recently been cleared. When they arrived, Noah gestured to a small wooden bench he had set up among the flowers. "I thought we could spend some time here together, drawing and painting whatever inspires us. It's a space just for us to create and enjoy." Lily clapped her hands in delight, and Evelyn's smile widened. "Sounds wonderful," she exclaimed. As they settled onto the bench, Noah felt a rush of joy. This was more than just an art project. It was an opportunity to deepen their connection as a family. They began sketching the flowers around them, sharing ideas and laughter as they worked. "Look at this one," Lily exclaimed, holding up her drawing of a bright sunflower. "It's waving at us." Noah chuckled, feeling a lightness in his heart. "It definitely looks happy," he replied, glancing at Evelyn, who was focused on her own artwork. The three of them spent the morning immersed in their creativity, the atmosphere filled with the sound of laughter and playful chatter. In those moments, Noah felt a sense of belonging he had longed for since Claire's passing. As the sun reached its zenith, they paused for snacks, enjoying the fresh fruit Noah had picked from the kitchen. "Do you remember the summer picnics we used to have?" he asked, looking at Lily. "Yes, with sandwiches and lemonade," she replied, her face lighting up with the memory. "We should do that again," Noah said, feeling inspired. "We can have a picnic right here in the garden. We can invite Margaret and Sarah, too." Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Yes, let's do it." Evelyn nodded in agreement, her smile warm and encouraging. "That's a lovely idea, Noah. It's important to celebrate these moments together." As they returned to their drawing, Noah felt a shift within himself. He realized that he was no longer just a father trying to fill a void. He was actively participating in creating new memories for Lily. With each stroke of the pencil and every shared laugh, he was building a future filled with love, connection, and joy. The following weekend, they organized the picnic, inviting not only Margaret and Sarah, but also a few close friends who had supported them through their journey. The garden was adorned with colorful blankets and cheerful decorations, and the air was filled with the delicious aroma of homemade treats. As the guests arrived, Noah felt a sense of pride. This gathering was a testament to the healing they had achieved together. He watched as Lily ran around, her laughter echoing in the air, and he couldn't help but smile. Evelyn moved among the guests, her natural warmth drawing everyone in. She chatted effortlessly with the adults while also engaging the children in games and stories. Noah admired her ability to connect with everyone, including Lily, who had taken to Evelyn as if she were family. During the picnic, as they sat together sharing stories and laughter, Noah felt the weight of the past begin to lift. He was surrounded by love for his daughter, for Evelyn, and for the life they were building together. Later in the afternoon, while the sun began to set, Noah took a moment to step back and observe the scene. He saw Lily and Evelyn side by side, both animatedly discussing a butterfly that had landed nearby. Their connection was undeniable, and Noah felt a surge of gratitude for the way Evelyn had entered their lives, bringing light and healing. As the day wound down, Noah gathered everyone for a toast. "I want to thank you all for being here today, for being part of our journey," he began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "This garden has become a symbol of our healing, and I'm grateful for each of you who have helped us along the way." Lily raised her juice cup high, giggling. "And for all the flowers." The laughter that followed was music to Noah's ears, a reminder of how far they had come. He looked at Evelyn, who smiled back at him, and in that moment, he knew that their bond had grown stronger. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Noah felt a profound sense of peace. They had created something beautiful together, a life filled with love, laughter, and a garden that would continue to flourish, just like their family. In the weeks that followed, Noah made it a point to spend time in the garden every day, not just with Lily and Evelyn, but also taking moments for himself. He learned to appreciate the little things, the beauty of nature, and the importance of living in the present. The garden became a place of reflection, where he could confront his memories of Claire, while also embracing the new life that was blossoming around him. Noah realized that true healing came not from forgetting the past, but from honoring it while nurturing new beginnings. He understood that life, much like the garden, was a continuous process of growth, change, and renewal. As autumn leaves began to fall, Noah felt hopeful about the future. He had learned to embrace his vulnerability, to connect deeply with his daughter, and to appreciate the love that had entered their lives through Evelyn. Their family was no longer defined by loss, but by the strength they found in each other and the beauty they created together. In the heart of the garden, as they planted new seeds for the coming seasons, Noah found solace knowing that they were on a path of healing and love, one that would continue to grow, just like the vibrant flowers that surrounded them.